Welcome, everyone, to a special episode of the Most Accurate Podcast. I am your host, Brandon Niles. This episode is all about trades. We're going to answer listener trade questions, discuss all things fantasy trade related. Joining me is trade expert Alex Korff. You can follow Alex on Twitter at Peaked in High School, or I'm sorry, Peaked in HS_FF. Alex, thanks so much for coming on. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here. Happy to spend this evening with you. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm so used to just saying your Twitter handle. I've never actually read it out loud, so I'm sorry I flubbed that already, Alex. My
No, it's okay.
apologies.
No, you nailed it. You nailed my Reddit username. It is Peaked in High School, spelled incorrectly or correctly, depending on your definition of spelling.
I like it. Depending on your definition, I like it. Alex writes our Traders Alley weekly article over at 4for4.com. Definitely check that out. It includes excellent information for fantasy managers to stay on top of potential trade opportunities each week for the fantasy season. Hopefully, we'll get some questions today. I see Tom in the chat. Thank you, Tom, for joining us. And I like the Kellen Mond shout out, knowing how much I love Kellen Mond, despite him being buried in Cleveland now and not really. My Kellen Mond love isn't really coming to fruition right now. Sal threw out a quick Superflex quarterback question. I'm going to go ahead and answer Sal's question. Our producer wants to know if he should target Geno Smith or Daniel Jones in a trade. Alex, what do you think if you're in a Superflex and you need a quarterback too for the rest of the season? Which one of those guys are you going after?
I think it might matter a little bit 4-point for 6-point passing, but still probably not a ton. Because that rushing upside of Daniel Jones, the known rusher, it's a little better than Geno. So maybe in 4-point, I would lean him, but still, it's Geno's just been on fire to start the year. Mm-hmm. But we also have, I don't know, a decade of experience of Geno being Geno. Is he going to fall back into that? So, I mean, maybe I lean more on the Daniel Jones side, but really they're pretty close to me. How about you?
I tend to kind of side with Daniel Jones just because of that rushing upside, like you just mentioned. We know Geno doesn't seem to be taken off with the ball very often, even though he probably gets the edge in the supporting cast category. But Daniel Jones, he's quietly the QB9 on the season right now, and that's without performing great passing wise. So I probably side with Daniel Jones a little bit. I'm glad we've already got some questions coming in here. We also have some questions from Twitter, which I'll get to later. But let's start with Vaughn Cunningham. Asked if it's time to trade Josh Jacobs. Chris Godwin for Cooper Kupp is the trade on the table. That's kind of a juicy one to start with, a Cooper Kupp related trade in a PPR. What do you think, Alex?
So this particular chart's aimed more at half PPR, kind of the middle of the road, because people ask for standard, people ask for PPR, and I'm like, well, you get one chart, so you're getting half PPR. Sorry.
Sure.
In 1 point, Cooper is going to be a little higher than Josh Jacobs. I'm all over Josh Jacobs. I'm not selling high on him. I think he is just good. He's finally getting used. He's young. I mean, he's in an offense that is doing better than it did last year. It's maybe not like, a top 10 offense, but he's clearly getting a lot of work. I think that's more than I would give up for Cooper Kupp. I don't think it's necessarily unreasonable. You typically have to overpay, right? In a 2-for-1, you're going to have to send more to acquire the one. But I think that's more than I would give up for Cooper Kupp in a PPR, even in a full PPR.
Yeah, it's hard to trade Jacobs after that attack right now. I want you to quickly, Sal, if you'd bring that back up. Alex, could you quickly just give us a rundown of what this chart is telling us for some of us who are a little less analytically inclined?
So looking all the way at the top, starting up there, the far left column, that's the trade value. So what we're really doing is looking at rest of season rakes, and we're applying a model to generate value of players in terms of each other. And then the way I do it is I break them out by position. So running backs are all in the next column, and then wide receivers, tight ends, and quarterbacks. And what I did is I built a function that writes each of those players in terms of the running back position, because they're kind of the backbone of fantasy football, at least how I play, right? So that's how I do it. And then the column just to the right of the player name is their trend value. So that was week 7 versus week 8. Green is good, red is bad. And then the column just to the right of it's actually versus market. So what I do is I actually aggregate expert consensus rest of season ranks, also put them through my model, and I generate a market evaluation. I pull a lot of different sources. And then when I'm looking for market discrepancies in particular. So that's what this particular chart is really cool. So you can see, for example, Mark Andrews down there, his versus market rate, the 4-for-4 experts were much higher on Mark Andrews than the expert consensus. That means that there's a market discrepancy or deficiency, and there's some space to grab value.
So that creates an opportunity then to go out and target Mark Andrews if we like him more than
Exactly.
others.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Let's talk Greg Man 69 lost Javonte and Breece Hall. That's a tough year. It's tough for those running back injuries, just killing me as well in a couple leagues. Offered Joe Mixon for George Kittle and DJ Moore. Is that a smash? Deep at receiver, stream tight end, 1 point PPR. Unless this is tight end premium, and I mean ultra premium, I think that's a smash. What do you think, Alex?
So wait, are they? They lost those two people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking.
So
I must be looking at the wrong.
They've been offered Mixon.
Okay. I heard it the other direction.
Okay.
I was like, and now they're giving up Mixon too. I'm like, God, that's terrible. Why would you do that? You're gonna have no running back. Oh yeah, I would send that, especially in 10 team, or they didn't say 10 team. But I mean, you're probably gonna find a tight end on the waiver wire that is fine. Taysom Hill, right? I hear he's great.
Taysom Hill. Yeah, that's Taysom Hill is my favorite streaming tight end just because he's 20 points or zero. That's it. Like you don't get anything in the middle for him. It cracks me up. But yeah, I think that's a smash. I think you can kind of make do it tight end. And George Kittle, I love George Kittle, but like he's not an Iron Man. He's not somebody that's like putting up numbers every week either. So yeah. All right, let's go. Caden, the Colts fan. Should I trade Justin Jefferson and Keenan Allen for Dalvin Cook, DeAndre Hopkins, and Michael Pittman Jr.? Current running backs are Chuba Hubbard and Devin Singletary. So trading Jefferson and Allen, getting Cook, Hopkins, and Pittman. What do you think, Alex?
So they're only gaining one running back in that, and getting two replacement wide receivers. That's fine. The question is, how do you feel about Pittman with the new Colts quarterback? And that is just a question mark that I don't know if I have it. I mean, can you have a take? Have we seen, did he even play in the preseason?
Not much. And last year, I checked his last year. He appeared in 3 games. He had 3 rushes for 9 yards, 0 pass attempts, right? So I don't know what he's kind of coming out of Texas. He was known as a gamer, kind of like a Baker Mayfield style, like doesn't have the best arm, doesn't the best accurate, but like tends to play when the lights are up. Now I know that's a little outdated with Baker Mayfield's season this year, but same kind of profile coming out, right? Ran for quite a few yards. I think he was up around 1,900 yards in 4 years at Texas. So he kind of a gutsy player. I could see him coming out and doing well passing the ball, but I don't think he's going to be somebody who I think the Colts are going to run. And I don't think that Ellinger is a 50 pass attempts a game kind of guy. So Pittman's going to have to be the guy, I think, for him to get the volume, and maybe he will be. So,
but I mean, Alex Pierce is coming on. Are we seeing the rare year 4 breakout for year 3 for Paris Campbell? I mean, so I guess going back to it, I think Cook is a solid bell cow back, right? He's very close in terms to Justin Jefferson. He's worth less. Keenan Allen, is he going to be back?
It's the question, right?
And do you believe in Hopkins? I think it's a risky trade, but if your starting running backs are that, I think sometimes you have to kind of hope and embrace that risk and hope to spike, and that's kind of sometimes you just have to do that. You don't have a choice. It would really it comes down to your record. If you have a pretty good record and you're feeling pretty confident, I might not. But if you need to add some variance, some spikes, some uncertainty to your roster, I think this makes sense.
Yeah, I like it ultimately. Obviously, I hate losing Justin Jefferson, but at this point, Keenan Allen, he's really good in theory. The Chargers offense is struggling. He's missed time. He's been nicked up on and off the last year. DeAndre Hopkins and Pittman might be good enough for that. So I'm good. I think you should definitely do that, Caden, the Colts fan. Dinosaur Democracy. Lost Breece Hall. This is a theme I see this week. Poor Breece Hall. 10-person 0.5 PPR league, forced to start Tony Pollard, which may not be bad if Zeke misses this week. Plenty of depth at wide receiver. Offer to give up Jamar Chase for Kenny Walker and Brandon Ayuk. So Chase for Walker and Ayuk. Ayuk, I'm assuming, isn't going into your starting lineup. So I'm going to assume this is basically Chase for Kenneth Walker. What do you think, Alex?
So Chase is up a little bit higher. He's tier 2 for sure. It's probably pretty fair according to the chart. I just really like Jamar Chase. I like watching Jamar Chase play.
It's hard, right?
It's hard. I mean, if you have no running back depth and you have plenty of wide receivers, I think this probably is going to make your starting lineup better.
Mhm.
This week, Tony Pollard's probably a great start because the last report I saw was that Zeke isn't going to play.
Yeah, it
It's
seems
still
unlikely
early.
at this point. Yeah.
Yeah. It's still early. I mean, you never know. But I mean, if they're saying that this early, he's probably not. I, I mean, Ayuk is fine. I guess he's a piece, but I mean, you can maybe counter and see if you could add a little bit more to get a little bit better of a wide receiver on the way back. I don't hate that as well.
Mhm.
Just because it's an offer doesn't mean it's the only offer. There's always room to negotiate.
That's true. Yeah, something I often forget when I'm getting trade offers thrown my way. Yeah, I think ultimately I probably do that to get Kenny Walker. I also love Kenny Walker. But yeah, boy, it's hard to give up Chase. Just tough to
It's
do that.
hard to go chase. Yeah.
Our friend Tom was offered Leonard Fournette for AJ Brown and declined it, but would like to bolster their running back position anyway. Thoughts about Chris Godwin or Michael Pittman for Dameon Pierce as a counter? I think if you can get that to work, I'm okay with it. I don't know that you'll get Pierce for that. What do you think, Alex?
I think the perception, some of it is like just the people are really happy with Pierce, right? He's
Yep.
been great. They drafted him late, and they're just. I don't know if I've seen very many offers actually go through in any of my leagues where Pierce got traded away because the guy that the person that drafted him is really happy.
Yeah.
And Pittman is kind of trending down, so the perception there is hard. And the same with Godwin, where he just hasn't found the end zone. He's been good, but he hasn't found the end zone, so he looks worse on paper than he has been. You can shoot your shot, but I'm not sure that any of those are going to get done. It's kind of the same. I mean, go for it if you can.
Yeah, I feel that way too. Yeah, it's perception is a thing, and you draft that person late. It's hard to let go of them sometimes. I know I carried Cordero Patterson longer than I should have last year just because I had him in the last round of drafts and he was functional. It was great. Thank you, Caden, the Colts fan, for correcting us on Sam Ehlinger playing in the preseason and looking pretty good. Appreciate that. Dinosaur Democracy countered with AJ Brown for Kenny Walker. Not sure if the original trade was good. Hopefully they'll accept that. I like that a little bit better than Jamar Chase, but obviously we're okay either way. Justin Haberthy, PPR League, weak at wide receiver, has DK Metcalf and Deontay Johnson. Should they break up Josh Allen to get a worse quarterback but a star receiver? Alex, we haven't really talked about elite quarterbacks yet. How do they fare in your trade chart, and should this be something on the table?
So Josh Allen is the elite quarterback. He's the only one that you can even really see up there. The other ones are down a lot lower, and he is just giving you an actual positional advantage this year that a lot of time you just aren't seeing. If you don't have a choice, I think you can do it. Man, it really sucks to lose Allen, but you can likely be able to increase your total actual points by doing something like that, especially if you're in a league that really overvalues the quarterback position, which a lot of home leagues are. If you're in an experts league or something, it's probably not going to happen. But I think that's a possibility and something maybe you have to look at. Maybe try and go get Kyler plus someone, plus a good receiver, someone preferably that's underperforming that we have hope for going forward.
Yeah, I just did a Dak and Jefferson trade in a home league, so we'll see if Dak works out. But yeah, I hate moving Allen too, but I echo Alex's thoughts here. If you can get not too bad of a decrease at quarterback, like I wouldn't go to streaming, from Josh Allen to streaming or anything like that. But if you could still get someone like Kyler Murray, then I think you're in good shape. Let's see here, Ashton Davis, trade Kenneth Walker, Aaron Rodgers, and Jalen Waddle and Chris Godwin for Jalen Hurts and Derrick Henry. So you're going from Rodgers and Walker to Hurts and Henry, and you're giving up Waddle and Godwin to do it. That seems like a lot to me. But I guess the trade is there, Rodgers to Hurts. I guess that's the big appeal there, right? What do you think, Alex?
So they're sending Kenneth Walker, Waddle, and Chris Godwin for Hurts and Derrick Henry. Aaron Rodgers is effectively useless. Like he's on the waivers in some leagues.
Yeah.
So a great running back. The upgrade from Kenneth Walker to Derrick Henry is significant. I mean, it is an upgrade. But then two significant wide receivers for Hurts. That's a lot to give up. But you usually have to do those, especially in 4-for-2 type trades like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like he has the depth. His other wide receivers are A.J. Brown, and he picked up Michael Thomas.
Okay.
And his other running back is Aaron Jones. I mean, I don't know that you have the wide receiver depth to do that, especially if Michael Thomas doesn't play, right? Like you just straight up won't have two to start. Uh, that's a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah, I think it's a lot. I'd be curious. Yeah, I think in this type of a situation, consolidation trades are usually for a team with a lot of depth. It doesn't sound like you've got that depth, Ashton. I'd probably stream quarterback for a little while and stick with what you've got elsewhere.
Yeah.
That's probably what I would do.
I mean the Hurts to AJ Brown stack that's nice. Like that would be
It is
cool, but
tempting.
I just don't think you have the depth to send that. Like especially, I mean, if you could sub Michael Thomas for Chris Godwin, then or something like that, then it gets reasonable. But I don't think you can do it.
Caden, the Colts fan, what are our thoughts on Tom Brady? It's funny, the volume is actually there, like pass attempt wise, but we're just not getting the touchdowns or the yards per attempt or anything like that. And the offense obviously struggling, especially after last week. Are you bullish on Tom Brady the rest of the season, or do you think we're going to get more of the same?
I don't know if bullish is the right word, but I think he is one of the few situations that I can see reasonable upside and that he is depressed right now in terms of value. I mean, he's still throwing to Evans and Godwin, and I mean, Evans gets in the end zone and then it's a different game. They're probably not going to get blown out by the Panthers every week or whatever. Like that was weird. But I think he's a low enough asset to acquire that I would put him above some of the other ones. Like I am more interested in him than like Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins. Like I think those guys are going to be fine. They don't have the ability to go nuclear like we've seen Brady go. Maybe I'm bullish. Maybe I am. Maybe I need to go send some trades.
I like that you're talking yourself into it right now. Like as we talk live on air, you're talking yourself into it. I like that. What do you think, Brady or Dak, rest of the season?
So I missed the Dallas game. How did Dak look? Did he look back?
He looked okay. He looked okay. He looked like he's still a little rusty with this offense. He looks like he's not quite trusting the offensive line in front of him yet. He looked okay, is what I'd say. Against Detroit.
Yeah. Oh God, against him. Okay. I guess Brady, but I mean, I think that one really comes down to who do you want to root for? And as a Colts fan, I don't know which one of those you're supposed to root for.
Yeah, it's true. I think you always I don't know. Do people still hate Dallas? Like I grew up in the 90s, so everybody hated Dallas in the 90s. Do people still hate Dallas? Is that a thing?
I think you're supposed to hate Dallas. I think you're
supposed to hate Dallas.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Ashton Davis wants to know what should they do with Najee Harris on the trade market right now. He is one of those tough ones, right? Because he's not going to return what you would hope for the draft capital that you invested in him. But at the same time, it's not easy to keep trotting him out there in your starting lineup. So what do you do with Najee Harris?
Mostly cry, I think. I think that's kind of where you are. So the market's so down on him, I don't think you can move him. I don't think there's any way you can sell him and get any sort of replacement player. I think it's just expectation management. I think he is what he is. If you can, did he finally have a over 10-point PPR week, or was that 2 weeks ago? Or not this?
He got in the end zone a couple weeks ago, and that did it.
Yeah.
It's not much against Miami.
It's not been good. Yeah. I mean, you're probably just holding and maybe taking a peek at DFS this year. Maybe time to switch over to that.
Switch over to DFS. I love it. I keep trotting Najee out there, and it's a sad state of affairs for me, Alex. I'll tell you that much.
I mean, it's not like he's still the running back on a team that's getting most of the work. His likelihood of getting a touchdown is higher than most other people that you'll be able to start, right? Like he's but it just sucks. it just stinks. Like, do you think it's his foot, that Liz Frank issue? You think he'll be better next year, or are you concerned going forward? Like in Dynasty, where do you think you have him?
I think it's his foot, and same thing. I think he's a buy in Dynasty, honestly, because he's a talented kid. The team really likes him. The offensive line is trash, and I think that going into next offseason, they're not going to be using a first-round pick on a quarterback, right? Whether we like Kenny Pickett or not, they're definitely going to give him at least another year. So I think that they're going to be able to shore up the offensive line, and Harris is going to get healthy, and he's going to come back and be better next year. I just believe in the kid.
Yeah, I think it's hard to imagine a situation worse. I guess is, I mean, I'm sure it can happen. I think the likelihood of the situation next year being worse or even the same is low. So I agree with you. I think he's gotten to the point that he is probably a buy. He's still like 245 pounds and fast and he can catch. Like that's what we love to see in a running back. Like it's
and he's a good kid. Like he doesn't seem like a knucklehead or anything like that. Seems like someone's gonna do everything right as far as getting his body straight and being out there and available to play. Randy Miller wants to know who we would trade for Amon-Ra St. Brown. Would we trade Travis Etienne, Kenny Walker, or Joe Mixon? That's a tough one. Like if you're buying Amon-Ra St. Brown, obviously there's some risk with his availability lately. Although he seems like he's fine heading into week 8. Alex, what are you looking to trade if you want to acquire the Sun God?
So, I mean, it really, the evaluation is, well, those 3 running backs, good. Congrats.
Yeah, right.
I'm really jealous, right? What I would probably be trying to do instead of a 1-for-1 at that point is trying to pair Walker, Etienne, or Mixon with one of your tier 6, 7 wide receivers and going a little bit higher than Amon-Ra. That's what my goal would be with that. Because one of those just cross positional trades, like it's a win-win, but like can maybe win a little bit more. I'm really not aggressively buying Amon-Ra, and I think all 3 of those are probably an overpay. Of the 3, I guess I would send Mixon because it seems like they're shifting back away from him a little bit more and really opening up the passing. I mean, last week they really did, and that's where we saw they had a lot of success last year doing that, where they kind of got away from Mixon a little bit more. And maybe he's going to be the worst of those 3 options, I guess.
Makes sense. I want to ask you while this question's up here, Travis Etienne, is his value ever going to be higher than it is right now in redraft this year? Like, is this a good time to sell him?
So he could go out this week and have 2 touchdowns and 150 yards, and then the answer is no. And he just flies up. He gets into tier 2. I mean, he could Josh Jacobs, right? He could just vault. But like, and this is me. I have a dynasty trade sitting in my queue right now. Someone sent me for Travis Etienne, trying to get me to take him. I'm just not an Etienne guy. He looks so small. He looks. They say he's 5'9", 215. He's like 5'7", 185. I swear, and he's fast. He's so quick.
He's good. Yeah.
He just looks so small, and it just. I like big backs. I don't know. I have a hard time thinking he's going to get up there, but maybe I could easily be wrong.
Yeah, I just wonder if he's going to get that full workload we're expecting. Like losing James Robinson doesn't necessarily to me mean everything is going to. I don't know. I just people are treating Travis Etienne like he's a top 5 back in some circles. I'm hearing people discuss this, and I might be time to see what kind of option you get out there. I'm just checking that out. Tom has a ton of Rhamondre Stevenson, thankfully. Plans to keep him in most leagues, but what's a reasonable wide receiver value for him if he wants to initiate a trade somewhere? So who could he target at wide receiver for Stevenson?
I mean, so some of the players right around him, Gabe Davis, Chris Olave, Pittman, if you're really feeling Pittman. Lockett's a little concerning because was he practicing? I don't remember seeing a report. I was in the car all day today. Godwin, I don't hate Godwin for Stevenson. I think Harris will have more of a role. I expect to see Stevenson probably trending more towards the tier 5 over the next couple of weeks. I expect we've seen him peak. I think he's great. I think he's a great asset, but I expect that he's not going to maintain where he is. But the Gabe Davis, Chris Olave, maybe even a little bit higher in that range.
Okay. Back to Randy. Would you be more interested in Mark Andrews instead of Amon-Ra St. Brown for any of those 3 backs?
Yeah, I mean, being able to shore up the tight end position. But once again, Mark Andrews not practicing. It was a knee issue, right?
Yeah, and he's not practicing today. Now he didn't practice most of last week, and then he played. But then,
do you count that as playing?
I don't know. I mean, he was on the field for 80% of the snaps, right? But you're right. He gave us a goose egg in the receiving department. Had 1 carry for 4 yards is all he had. So,
but maybe you're buying low at the right time. Like maybe But I mean, I have Andrews in a lot of leagues. I would probably not sell him unless I had to for those guys. But if you can get it done, go for it. Yeah.
Sure, Mixon for Andrews. Sign me up for that. I like that. There's 2 tight ends worth Two tight ends worth calling elite right now, and Andrews is one of them.
Andrews and Taysom Hill, is that right?
Taysom Hill, absolutely. Taysom
Yeah.
Hill, shout out to Sal. Let's I want to talk. I don't think I missed any of the questions in there. I got a couple Twitter questions from our friend Tom. These are more strategy questions, which I think are a lot of fun to go. How do you think about leveraging a position of strength without cutting too deep? So if you've got lots of receivers and you need a running back, like how do you make sure you don't go too far and get rid of too many receivers and cause a hole?
That's so. If they had worded it in reverse, where don't get rid of too many running backs and cause a hole, I think that can happen.
That was me adding it, so feel free to reverse that if you like.
I think it's almost hard to get rid of too many wide receivers because you can just go grab Alec Pierce off the waiver wire. You can go grab Rondell Robinson. The top, I don't know what, 18 wide receivers this year we feel pretty confident in, and then from 19 on down, it gets pretty flat. And so I mean, if you have Terry McLaurin, DJ Moore, and another Deontay Johnson, like, yeah, I would 2-for-1 any of those guys because I think I can replace them on the waiver wire a lot more readily. I'm not doing that if I am like, don't do it in excess. Like, keep one extra, right? You don't want to have a bench of, I don't even know, that someone, I mean, some people you hadn't even heard of before. Like, you still have to have a little bit of depth. Don't go too crazy, but especially with wide receivers, I'll send a lot of them. Running backs, I'm usually a little bit more hesitant because they just also get hurt a little bit more too.
They do. No, but to counter that a little bit, does that make them more replaceable though? On the waivers, can you go? Do you feel confident you can go grab somebody who's likely to get a boost in workload this week because of an injury last week? Is that something you can consistently do? Just to play a little devil's advocate.
Yeah. I think that's possible if we have a reasonably good idea of who the backup is going to be, if it's a direct replacement. I know JJ, Zach Reason, did a really big study on handcuffing and being able to project the backup maybe 2 years ago. And it shows that we're just not very good at that. Like, just statistically, we
it's true.
We're just not, right. Like, I kind of just always remember that study because I'm like, I really thought we were, but I mean, like example, Foreman or Chuba Hubbard. Which one was it last week?
Yeah,
surprisingly, it was both. but you wouldn't have bet that, would you? Right?
No.
I could have given you really good odds, and you would not have bet that it was both of them last week.
And we have the same question this week. Going into this week, same thing. We're going, who do we want, Foreman or Hubbard? So
or Algier, Huntley, or Avery or something.
Avery Williams, the converted corner, Avery Williams,
Which one of those three? So, like, yes, you can probably replace a low or higher baseline with the running back. I agree with that, but the ceiling, I don't think you can replace, and that's how I look at it.
Very, very fair. Steven Serrano was offered Rashad Stevenson, T. Higgins, and Brandon Cooks for Stefon Diggs. Major consolidation trade, it looks like, although Higgins is a pretty big piece there, and you're getting a running back. What do you think about that one, Alex?
Are they sending Diggs?
It sounds like they're sending Diggs.
I mean, that one's 100% roster dependent. That's not enough value for me to say yes, no matter what. It really would depend. Do you absolutely need the running back and wide receiver help? Otherwise, I'm keeping Diggs. But I mean, what's your record and what's your roster look like? That's really important here.
Sure. Yeah. I think Diggs is too good of a piece. I'm with you. Like, just initially looking at that, unless you're desperate at running back, I think I keep Diggs. I'm with you there, Alex, 100%. Ashton Davis wants to know if we prefer Chris Godwin or Jalen Waddle rest of season. I'm a Dolphins fan and incapable of answering this question objectively. So I'm going to rely 100% on you for that, Alex. And I'm going to go Waddle in the corner. So
I'm a Godwin truther. So this is also, you came to the wrong place. Honestly, both. They're both great options. Yeah, they're just great. Like, we don't have to pick. They're both great.
They're both. I like that. Alex.
Yeah.
Look at it coming together. Yeah. Waddle and Godwin. I will say I think Godwin's probably more likely to get in the end zone if Tom Brady has some reverse regression. Waddle's probably more likely to get double-digit targets every game. I think that's probably it. So if you're in a PPR, I might lean Waddle, but yeah, both are excellent. SVLUU77. What kind of running back could I theoretically get with Kelce? Sky's the limit, right?
Any of them. I think you could literally send him for any running back on this list, and you should have a shot. Like, he is down at 50.5, but the market perception, if you go to talk to anyone, any user, there's no way. Like you could send him for Barkley, and I bet you could get it done if the Barkley manager has plenty of depth and needs it. Like, aim as high as you can dream. Like, go for it.
Yeah, and of course, this is obvious, but I think it's worth saying when you're offering trades, and I think enough people, I'm in enough leagues to know that half the people in the world don't do this. Look at what the other team is that you're targeting and see what they need and see what they can give up. You know what I mean? If Barkley's their only back, they're probably not going to do it. If they've got 3 really good backs and need a tight end, if they're trotting out somebody, like Hayden Hurst every week or something like that at tight end, then there's a really good shot. I think he just followed up, said Austin Eckler is the target there. You can try. Really depends on the other manager, though. I would say keep in mind when you're constructing those trades, what's the team you're trading with? What are they going to want? Steven, I like those running backs enough that I wouldn't give up Diggs. I would keep what you got. Tony Pollard, James Robinson, and Kareem Hunt. I think you're fine, especially a real trade that may happen. Kareem Hunt may end up getting moved in a contract year. If he ends up somewhere else, I think his value could really explode, especially if he ends up with the Rams or something.
I mean, the Rams, gosh, man, that one puts a smile on your face as the Hunt.
Doesn't it?
That one would just be awesome.
I like that. Somebody out there
the
has Darrell
Bills.
Henderson is just crying. Oh, the Bills. Oh,
Bills.
Oof. That's fun. Connor, Alberto, or $1 of FAAB. I gotta go with the $1 FAAB, Connor. Gotta go with the $1 FAAB. Nice to see you,
Cole's
Connor.
Cash.
Yeah, right. Cole's Cash. Yeah, that sounds great to me. Mr. Josh, I need a wide receiver if Bateman is out. Should I pick up Michael Gallup, Zay Jones, Allen Robinson, Isaiah McKenzie, or Romeo Dubes? Yeah, I don't know. It looks like a waiver wire amount of wide receivers, doesn't it, Alex?
Yeah, I mean, sadness. I don't know that I can.
Maybe Gallup. Maybe.
Man.
Although Noah Brown seems to kind of be taking over.
Yeah, he seems like the 2. Yeah. I was thinking maybe A-Rob, but like he's hurt me before.
He's been so bad. I know it's like we're battered fantasy managers. It's hard to go back to Allen Robinson. Can you pick up Devin Duvernay? Because if you can pick up Devin Duvernay, then that gives you an emergency replacement there, and Duvernay should at least get good targets while Bateman's out. Otherwise, maybe McKenzie. I don't know.
I would go Zay Jones over McKenzie. Like,
would you?
Zay Jones is seeing a lot of work.
That's true.
It's fine. Like in PPR, I think I would go Zay Jones for a floor play, right? If you need ceiling, I guess I'd go A-Rob because he's more likely to get a touchdown. That's how I would do it. Depends what you need. How's your matchup looking? Zay Jones for floor, A-Rob for ceiling, and maybe don't watch the games.
Maybe don't watch the games. I like it.
Or do something else.
Oh, I like it. All right. Landon Leyendecker did a trade. Wants to know if they lost. They gave up Derek Carr, Trevor Lawrence, T. Higgins, and Brian Robinson for Kyler Murray, Deshaun Watson. This is a 1 quarterback, 6 points passing, half PPR. So Carr and Lawrence for Kyler and Watson, and gave up T. Higgins to do it. I think they lost pretty bad. But what do you think?
Yeah, so Higgins and B-Rob for Kyler is the only thing I saw in this trade. Right?
Yeah.
Like that's the only. I mean, because like Watson's cool, Carr and T. That's more than I would give up for a 1 QB who has been underperforming for sure. Each league market's different, but that seems like a lot to give up.
Yeah, Higgins and B-Rob to go from Carr to Kyler. Sorry, Landon. I would have probably advised you to look elsewhere for a quarterback upgrade. But that being said, if you're thick at receiver and running back, then your starting lineup may be better for it. So good luck to you on that. The Fantasy Birds, Devontae Smith, TJ Hawkinson, and Kadarius Toney for Cortland Sutton, Dallas Goedert, and Hollywood Brown. Who wins that trade? So
Kadarius Toney really changes it here,
doesn't it? And the injured Hollywood Brown as well. Yeah. I don't know. That's kind of a wash for me. Like Smith and Hawk for Sutton and Goddard.
Yeah, I mean Goddard has just been solid.
Yeah,
but Smith has been, besides week 1 donut, has been pretty good as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if there is a winner. Honestly, it could be. It's just even. It seems incredibly lateral.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a wide receiver of similar value, similar-ish value tight end, and then 2 hurt wide receivers for each other. Like it's those are the kind of trades that I don't see a driving force to do one side or the other. Like I don't get the point of them. Like you're just trading basically the same thing for the same thing. Well, why?
That's kind of where I see too. I guess if Hollywood does come back, then that's an asset, but we don't really know what that's doing. Yeah, I guess whichever players you like the best there, Fantasy Birds, because I think it's I think it's basically the same on each side. So I think we both agree with that. Mr. Josh says Duvernay is on waivers and it's for their flex position. I would grab Duvernay and start Hubbard, and that's what I would do. But that's where I'm at. Keep an eye if Hubbard
or Slam Williams.
Yeah, if Hubbard's out and Swift is out, or if Swift is out, obviously start Williams. But if Hubbard is out, then just pivot to Williams. Landon says they're stacked at receiver and running back. All right, so good luck, Landon. I think Kyler Murray does make your team better, so hopefully that works out best for you. SVLUU 77 back, 2 quarterback PPR, trading Russell Wilson and Cortland Sutton for Trevor Lawrence and Zay Jones. So trading a Broncos stack for a Jags stack. What do you think, Alex?
So 2 QB changes this significantly.
Mm-hmm.
And I can pull up a different 2 quarterback chart, but I mean, the question is, where do you have Trevor Lawrence rest of the season versus Russ mentally? Yep. Like where, like, I mean, is T-Law higher than him now? He's got to be, right? Like,
yeah.
With the hamstring injuries are notorious for lasting weeks and lingering. Adam, what's his last name?
Hutchinson.
Hutchinson. Yeah, you see his study where, like I reference that all the time, where the percentage decline in output for weeks afterwards, and the re-injury rates, like especially for hamstring, is insane. I might be on the T-Law side, and give me Trevor Lawrence and Zay Jones, and just be done with that whole experiment in Denver. And then you don't have to look at it again. Because it's on my time every week.
As a 2 quarterback Russell Wilson manager, I will take that trade. Somebody please offer me that trade.
My Scott Fishbowl team. Oof.
Oh, it's brutal. Is there anyone you're more disappointed in than Russell Wilson this year as a fantasy asset? Maybe Matt Ryan, but I didn't have high expectations for Ryan. Like I was expecting Russ to be good. Yeah, me too.
He's my most drafted quarterback this year.
Oh,
and that wasn't a lot. Like I had, of my leagues, 25% of them had a Russ, either in Superflex or 1 QB, because he was just, I mean, he was the 9th quarterback off the board. It was juicy, and man, it has just been killing me.
Oh, it's rough. Sal just noted that Kyle Pitts is also a display. That's very fair. Kyle Pitts is also very fair. Randy Miller wants to know if DJ Moore is a viable flex for the rest of the season. I sure hope so, Randy. Alex, what do we think? I mean, we saw a nice game with PJ Walker, but I don't really trust anything going on in Carolina. What do you think, Alex?
I mean, you can't trust him. I think he just is a good wide receiver if he's getting the targets and getting reasonable good targets. I think he's not a bad choice. There's probably worse ones that you could start than DJ Moore. I mean, he just always has upside to do something because he just is a good player.
Yep. Yeah. Poor DJ Moore. He's been in quarterback purgatory back since college. Like the Maryland quarterbacks he had were terrible, and he's just continued in Carolina. So we'll see. Hopefully Will Levis comes and fixes things next year for him. Mr. Josh is 1-6 trying to win this week. Drafted Dak, Akers, Lance, Keenan. Oh, okay. So trying to recover, Mr. Josh. Good luck to you. Hopefully Jamal Williams works out for you, and you can get through this week and everything works just fine. With you, SVLUU. Tom, Chase Edmonds is a good call as well.
Yeah. But he was 7 to, well, I mean, I guess he was going like close to the 6th. Yeah, right. But and so was Russ. But I mean, Pitts is the answer. Keenan Allen too, but Keenan Allen you at least didn't have to start. But people are still starting Pitts.
Pitts is definitely it. I wanted to get to a couple more strategy questions, but you know what it means? We're kind of out of time, Alex. It means we're just going to have to do this again. I'm just going to have to pester you again, make you come on and answer all kinds of more stuff. Let's do one more quick start sit. Erwin Garcia, thanks for joining us. Start Justin Fields or Taylor Heineke this week. Tough matchup there for Justin Fields. I like the rushing upside, Alex. What do you think?
It's Dallas this week for him, right?
Yeah.
That's
tough matchup.
That one's scary. Yeah. Who does Heineke have again?
Who's Washington up against? I should know this off the top of my head, but I don't.
Cannot remember it. Yeah.
So if anybody in the chat knows that off the top of their head, thank you very much. Let's see here. I don't have the schedule up in front. This is how little I paid it. The Colts. They're at the Colts.
I mean, that's not a great one either. But
No,
they haven't been quite as stout. I'd probably go Fields.
Yeah.
Just because I know Heineke isn't very good, and I'm still not sure if Fields isn't very good. And he's I think Fields is besides Lamar, probably the best rusher in the league quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just different. He should never throw the ball. He should just pick it up and run every single time.
He's so much fun. He's so much fun. Let's see. I've got to let Alex go. Sorry if we didn't get to your questions, but thank you very much for joining us. Feel free to tweet at me at Two Guys Brandon, tweet at Alex at PeaktonHS_FF. We love talking this stuff, and we will continue to talk this stuff with you and answer more of your trade questions. Thanks again for joining us. Thank you so much, Alex. Listeners, definitely check out Traders Alley on 4for4.com every week. Alex, any final thoughts or plugs before we go?
No, I appreciate the invite. You didn't have to beg that hard. I enjoyed it. It was great. No, it was a good time.
Excellent. Thanks again. Always a pleasure. Listeners, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and check out all our videos and all our content each week over at 4for4.com. Thanks for checking us out and have a good day.